Hello everyone, welcome to sqadia.com. Today the topic of my discussion is the integumentary system. This happens to be the fourth section of the integumentary system. I hope you have watched the first three sections which were epidermis, dermis and hypodermis. This section deals with the epidermal derivatives. What will we be talking about in the epidermal derivatives? Let's take a look. We'll be talking about hair, the nails, and the glands, which would include the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands. I hope you're interested and excited about this topic. Let's take a look on this topic in a little detail. Epidermal derivatives. Following are the epidermal derivatives. As I mentioned earlier, these include the hair, the nails, and the glands. There are two types of glands, the sweat glands and the sebaceous glands. Coming to hair. What is hair? Hair is elongated, keratinized structures which are derived from invagination of the epidermal epithelium. I know it's a mouthful, but try to keep it up with me and try to say it with me. It is elongated, keratinized structures which are derived from invagination of epidermal epithelium. The growth of hair is discontinuous. There's a growth phase, then there's a resting phase. The growth in the resting phase, it's not fixed. The growth phase can last for several months, years, and then so can the resting phase. It all depends upon external factors, the various the metabolic demands, the condition of the body, the health status of the body, etc. Okay, taking a look on the structure of the hair, it has a terminal dilation of hair follicle and it is known as the hair bulb. This dilation at the end of the hair is known as the hair bulb. Dermal papilla with the capillary network is inserted into the base of the hair bulb. As I mentioned earlier, epidermis does not contain blood supply. Blood supply comes from the dermis. What happens is the dermal papilla inserts into the base of the this hair root and provides the blood supply, the nourishment to the hair. Loss of this dermal blood supply results in loss of that hair root or that hair. The epidermal cells which cover the dermal papilla form hair root, which is continuous with the hair shaft. There are large vacuolated, moderately keratinized cells at the apex of the dermal papilla that form the hair medulla. As you can see, the hair medulla is the central light colored portion which is formed by large vacuolated cells which are moderately keratinized. As I mentioned earlier, hair is a keratinized structure, but there are different levels of keratinization within the hair. There's this inner structure which is this medulla that is not heavily keratinized. It is moderately keratinized. From this medulla we move to hair cortex, which is heavily keratinized, which is composed of cells which are heavily keratinized, and they form fusiform cells. They are closely packed together and form the hair cortex. Again, hair cortex is heavily keratinized. The hair medulla is moderately keratinized. Hair medulla consists of vacuolated cells and hair cortex consists of fusiform cells. I know it's difficult, I know it's a mouthful, but try to bear with me. Okay, moving on, there's a thin layer of heavily keratinized cells covering the cortex from the outside. This is known as the cuticle. You should consider cuticle as the outermost layer of the hair, not the outermost exactly, but third layer of the hair. The deepest layer in the center we have the medulla, which was moderately keratinized. Then we have the cortex, which was heavily keratinized, composed of fusiform cells. Then we have a thin layer of heavily keratinized cells which is covering this cortex. This is known as the hair cuticle. This outermost layer is known as the hair cuticle. Hair bulb is now covered by two layered root sheath. There's this outer root sheath and there is this inner root sheath. Inner root sheath is in green and outer root sheath is in this beige skin tone. The internal root sheath covers the initial part of the hair up till the sebaceous gland. You can see it in the figure very clearly. This light green portion that is covering the hair bulb up till the sebaceous gland, this is the internal root sheath. The external root sheath, it extends to the epidermis. This extends to the epidermis. This extending all the way to the epidermis is the external root sheath. There's a glassy membrane, which is an acellular hyaline layer that separates the hair follicle from the dermis. It's just an acellular layer which is separating this hair follicle from the dermis. The surrounding dermis forms a connective tissue sheath. From the midpoint of this sheath, erector pili runs to the dermal papilla. This is the erector pili muscle that runs from the midpoint of the sheath, which is formed by the surrounding dermis. What does this erector pili do? Erector pili is responsible for goosebumps. What happens is whenever you experience fear or cold, these erector pili muscles contract and they tend to accumulate a column of air, a column of warm air around the skin, which acts as an insulator and helps to prevent dissipation of heat from the body. This leads to standing up or erection of the hair, and this is known as goosebumps and common phenomenon. Okay, now moving on, we have the second epidermal derivatives, which is a nail. What is a nail? Nail is a hard, flexible plate of keratin which is located on the dorsal surface of each distal phalanx. How many phalanxes do we have? We have 10 on the upper limb, and distal phalanxes 10 on the upper limb and 10 on the lower limb. So we have 10 nails in total. There's a proximal part of the nail which is known as the nail root. This nail root is covered by the proximal skin fold. This happens to be the proximal nail fold or proximal skin fold which is covering the nail root. Epidermal stratum corneum forms the cuticle or the eponychium. Cuticle or eponychium is the outermost layer of the keratinized nail. It is formed by the stratum corneum, which was the outermost layer of the epidermis. This cuticle is also known as eponychium. Keratinized nail plate is bound to nail bed, which contains the basal and the spinous layer. This is the nail bed which lies just below this keratinized nail plate. It is composed of stratum basale and stratum spinosum only. What was the name given to stratum basale and a few dividing cells in the stratum spinosum? We discussed this in epidermal section of this video. Yes, you're right, that was stratum germinativum. Nail plate arises from the nail matrix. This nail matrix gives rise to this nail plate. What happens is cells of the matrix, cells from this section continue to divide and they move distally and become keratinized, and hence they form the nail root. Distal end of the nail plate becomes free at the epidermal fold. At the epidermal fold, the distal end of the nail plate becomes free, and this is known as the terminal fold. The terminal epidermal fold is known as the hyponychium, and this free nail is either cut off or you can do whatever you want, however you like your nails. Okay, moving on to skin. The glands in the skin. The two types of gland, the sebaceous glands and the sweat glands. Okay, let's take a look on the sebaceous glands. They're embedded in the dermis. They're not present in thick skin. In palms, in soles, there are no sebaceous gland. They're branched acinar glands. You can see the branches. There's several acini, 1, 2, 3. Not exactly 1, 2, 3. Acini are small structures, the individual structures which are responsible for the glandular activity. They're composed of several acini which converge on a small duct that open into the upper portion of the hair follicle. They're always associated with the hair follicle. Acini have basal layer of undifferentiated cell. There is a basal layer of undifferentiated cells. Cell differentiate into large lipid producing sebocytes towards the middle of the acinus. Near duct, their nuclei and organelles shrink and undergo autophagy, releasing the lipids. These released lipids are known as the sebum. The sebum maintains stratum corneum and hair, and it exerts a weak antibacterial and antifungal effect on the skin. Now let's take a look on the sweat glands. Sweat glands are embedded in the epidermis and open to skin or hair follicles. There are two types of sweat glands, the eccrine gland or eccrine sweat gland or apocrine sweat gland. Okay, the eccrine sweat gland is widely distributed and is most numerous on the sole of the feet. Both secretory portion and ducts are coiled in this eccrine sweat gland. Both the secretory portion and the ducts are usually coiled. They receive the cholinergic nerve supply. Secretory part has a stratified cuboidal epithelium which consists of three types of cells. The clear cells which produce the sweat, the dark cells which are responsible for innate immunity, and they're myoepithelial cells. Myoepithelial, they have a muscular component as well as an epithelial component. They are responsible for contraction and help in the expulsion of secretion, which happens to be sweat. Let's take a look on apocrine sweat glands. Apocrine sweat glands are confined largely to the skin of axilla and the perineal region. These apocrine sweat glands, their development is dependent on the sex hormones and is completed after puberty. They have a large lumen as compared to eccrine sweat glands. The secretory portion is composed of simple cuboidal cells with numerous apical secretory granules. These apical secretory granules usually undergo exocytosis. Their ducts are similar to the eccrine sweat glands. The secretion acquires odor due to bacterial activity on the skin. They produce pheromones, though this is a vestigial function in humans. What does a vestigial function mean? Vestigial usually means that it is not very effective in now in the human beings, but it was once in our ancestors when it was used for mating and sexual activities. And these glands receive adrenergic nerve supply. So this was all about the epidermal derivatives. In this section, we covered hair, nails, glands. There were two types of glands, sweat glands and sebaceous glands. For further details on the integumentary system, please watch other sections of this video. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.